Hey everyone, it's Rick Carson with the beautiful Make Believe Studios, and today I want to talk a little bit about the organ. Most people think at a recording studio you need to have a Hammond B3 and a Leslie 122, and I would say that that's about as classic of a combo as a Gibson Les Paul and a Marshall 1959, where I think that when you build a recording studio, there's certain things that a lot of people expect to have in there. And if you don't provide them, that's a decision for you to make. But if you are in the business of providing these things, then the classics are kind of the reason why people come. And the Hammond is interesting because unlike the Les Paul, it doesn't get used on every session, and I'm not saying a guitar gets used on every session, but it gets used a lot more than the Hammond does here at our studio. But we have an organ that we have been slowly building up here, and officially as of this week, it is 100% complete. And I'm very excited about it because it is a B3 and a 122, but just not a B3 or 122. It's a Hammond A100 and a Leslie 145/147. And so what do I mean by that? The B3 specifically refers to not only the organ inside of the cabinet, but also the cabinet. And there's a couple other organs. There's a Hammond C3, which is the church style of a B3 and has a much more ornate, cabinet surrounding it. The B3 is the one that with legs, and I think of that as the bar organ, which is why, the B3, but I know there's probably an actual reason for that. But that's the quintessential, Hammond organ that most people know about. And I think a lot of people know about them because people were chopping the legs off and carrying them around as chopped organs. But really, people love the B3 because it had percussion on it, and you have to have percussion when it comes to one of these things. And that leads us to the A100, which is a home organ that has the same internal guts as the B3 and the C3. It has percussion, but it also has a set of speakers as well as a third speaker with reverb. And we have an A100 that we picked up from the wonderful Mitch Town, a very talented organ player here in Omaha, Nebraska. And we just had Richard Walker from Keyboard Castle come in. He put a 6-pin conversion kit onto this organ so that we could use it with the Leslie that we picked up from our trip to go see Josh out in New Jersey. And that Leslie is a 145 model, and the 145 typically only has one speed, where it's either off or fast. And this one is set up where it's actually a 145 cabinet, so it's a little bit smaller than even a 147, but it still does slow and fast. And then just like Mitch likes to set it up, you can pull the slow motor and you can do off and fast, which I think is a great sound. I'm very excited for us as a recording studio because we get the great B3 sound out of the A100. It has percussion, so any gospel keyboard players who come in here and play it, they're excited about it. And we saved a little bit of money and space by going with the A100 and the 145. And I just want to talk about one of my favorite organ sounds. So a lot of people will mic organs in different ways. Some people use 2 condensers up top on the Leslie, and some people will use something like a kick drum mic, like a D112 down low. But I had Gabriel Roth in here, well, not in this building, but at Make Believe, to come and visit us one time. And I've spoken about it before, but one of the things we spoke about was how he went about getting an organ sound. And he just said, put my ear in front of the Leslie, figure out where it sounds good for the song, and I put a 57 there. For me, I think that for the majority of organ sounds that you need out there, unless you're trying to fill a big space with the organ, like a jazz organ trio where the organ is holding down the low end and the melody, then you can get away with a 57 most of the time, unless you need that stereo spread. This is the wonderful Kevin Lloyd playing our Hammond A100, going through a Leslie 145, 147 speaker into a single 57. Catch up with it. Bye.
Thank you.